Hi there, this is Andrei, and you are on the Marketing Innovation Podcast Show. Our special guest today is LeBauer, who is a doctor of physical therapy, business owner, author, and podcast host. And today we'll look at together into the tactics and strategies he used to build and scale his business, as well as help thousands of other entrepreneurs do the same in his niche. We'll also discuss insights into how to best run sales webinars and marketing in the health business-to-patient sector. So without further ado, 𝐴𝑟𝑜𝑛, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Excited to see where the discussion is going today. How are you? How's the morning going?
I'm doing great, Andrei. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here on your show today.
It's an honor for me as well. I know that you just wrapped up recording for one of your own podcast episodes, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did it was a solo episode today on the number one asset in your business, which is your email list. So I went through all the pieces of that. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you are all warmed up and ready to go, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you want, we can also go into email marketing at some point, because I'm sure it's gonna be relevant when we are discussing the sales webinars strategies. Right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge key component to that.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, I guess let's just rock and roll and see where we go with this. So first of all, impressive background and impressive roster of clients, numbers and everything. I think a good place to start would be to let our listeners here find out from you a bit about you, your background, how you started, what motivated you, and how your growth looked like.
Yeah, I think the short version is I was racing bicycles in high school and college. And I think one day I think it was in high school, I told my mom, and I was like, my legs hurt. I just don't feel like feel that good riding. And she's like, you need to get a massage. Like, oh, I got a professional massage from someone locally, and I felt so great on my bike. And I was like, wow, great. I went to college. Really, some of the options were go into business, be a lawyer, be a physician, and med school wasn't in my future. They didn't know what to do with me. So I was like, well, let me just see if I can race bikes professionally. And I raced a little bit in Europe. And I spent a summer in Belgium, did a little racing in France. But I was super far away from Tour de France level, right? I came back to San Francisco. I moved to San Francisco and tried to get a real job, in air quotes, a real job. And real jobs weren't for me. I ended up being a temp and I hated it, temporary employee. And then I decided, well, I could ride my bike and get paid if I'm a bike messenger. So I did that for about a year and a half. But long term, it wasn't fulfilling. And I realized I had an epiphany one day. If I go to massage therapy school, my father and uncles, they're all physicians. And so that was definitely a path for me. And helping people, working with my hands, helping people heal was something that's kind of in my blood. And I was like, well, if I can go to massage therapy school, I can work 4 hours a day doing massage. And I can train on my bike 4 to 5 hours a day, and I'll make enough money to live. And I did that for 6 years. But eventually people were asking me, 𝐴𝑟𝑜𝑛, or they were saying, 𝐴𝑟ON, you're the first person to touch me where I hurt. I've been to physio, I've been to the surgeon, acupuncture, chiropractic, massage, and you're the first person to touch me where I hurt and actually help me with this problem. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, was like, well, you should go to become a physical therapist. And I was like, no. And she's like, yeah, you should. And she encouraged me to do that. And so eventually we left California, moved to where I live now, which is in North Carolina on the other coast of the United States, on the East Coast. And I looked into PT schools, and I went to PT school because it was going to give me the ability to help my patients understand when they would get better. Because they would say, 𝐴𝑟ON, so when is this going to finally go away? And I'm like, I don't know. As a massage therapist, our job is to help you feel like comfortable and good and recover, but it's not to predict when your injury is going to go away. Mm-hmm. So I did that and went to PT school for that. On the very first clinical rotation, beginning of my second year, I saw 43 patients one day. And I realized that day, like 43 patients as a student is a ton of people. That's 4 people an hour for over 9 hours. And I realized that day I already had a massage therapy practice. I realized I just need to start my own practice and charge people cash, charge an extra $10 an hour my clinical instructor was like, no one's going to pay more than their copay for physical therapy. And I was like, let me prove you wrong. Like if you don't live in the United States, we've got this weird, crazy medical system where everyone has insurance, but just because you have insurance doesn't mean it's less expensive or that things are actually covered. And it really interferes with the way we practice physical therapy or people practice medicine. It just, payment drives treatment. And I didn't want that because I didn't have that in massage therapy, and I knew there was a better way. And so that's where I started my own practice without relying on insurance. People started asking me, how'd you do this? And then one day someone said, well, what do I owe you for that? I was like, what do you mean? What do you owe me? She's like, well, you just gave me a ton of valuable information. What can I pay you? And that's the day that I started my coaching and consulting business.
Nice. Okay, so it was sort of, you didn't think about it from the beginning, but rather it just evolved organically from you following your purpose or your passion in this sense.
Right. Absolutely.
Super.
Absolutely. It wasn't like I didn't have this plan that I'm going to sell 1,000 courses and put a bunch of people in my mastermind group and write a book and start a podcast. It was like, how can I help people? And it was just the different things that people said guided me along this path. And that's where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm. Super. So how did you go about establishing your first practice, the one that really helped you become a full-time entrepreneur, to say so, as well as a doctor?
Yeah, I think, and it's been 20 years since I started. I think the very first thing that I did was, well, I had to get licensed and tell people, but it was like, well, how do people know? So I had to start marketing myself. And the very first book I read was Guerrilla Marketing by 𝐂𝐚𝐫𝐽 Levinson.
Mm-hmm.
And I read books. I read a marketing book. And that helped me out. And I moved to North Carolina and I read a couple books and I was like, okay, I'm on a roll. Word of mouth was working really well. But when I got out of PT school, I realized that no one really knew what physical therapy was. They have this idea about what physiotherapy is and what it can do, but it's so broad. And what I do is very different than a lot of people's experience. I had to figure out how to market it. So that's where I had to get a coach. I had to get a business coach to help me just save time by giving me a lot of the documentation forms I would need, but coaching me on how to set my prices. And actually this next business coach coached me on how to build a lead magnet and build my email list. And that was in 2000 and, when was that? 2008, I think.
Wow, you are a very early adopter.
Oh, I built my first website in 1995.
Nice. Okay, so what was your first lead magnet? So by this time you had your practice, you were growing organically. And what did you use as a lead magnet to grow your email list back in the day?
Yeah, the first lead magnet I used, I think I wrote a blog article and someone asked me if they could use my blog article as part of their ebook. They did a collection of articles. And I said, you can use it as long as I can give away the book as a lead magnet. And they said, yes. Well, then I went from that compilation of back pain articles to my own book on back pain. I'm now on my fourth variation of that. But it was around back pain because most people, at least in the United States, 87% of people have back pain, and it's the number one reason people miss work. And so that was the target that I went for.
Got it. Okay. I know you have, I don't know if it's a secret, but it is in a way, at least for us, until you let us know. But what's the number one marketing strategy you use today to reach, engage, and help people? I know your mission is a very impressive one, which is helping 100 million people through the work that you do. So, that's a big group of people. What strategy are you using marketing wise to get there?
Yeah, the number one marketing strategy I use is email marketing. Everything else, everything that sounds exciting is supported by it. It's just it's been what I've been using for. When did I start? I started my email list in 2005, probably. Yeah.
And how big is it now?
I've got two different businesses. I've got 20,000 total contact. I've got 23,000 total contacts. I've got about 8,000 active. And then I sent an email to my list this morning. of 2,300 people who are actively engaged with my content. They've read an email, visited a website, or engaged with me somehow in the last 45 days.
Okay. And so you mentioned email marketing. Agreed. This is super, super powerful. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a good point where we could go into the webinar and email list building strategies that you have, and then transition into the sales webinars and how to properly run these in order to be successful.
Yeah,
right?
That's perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so tell us, how do you run your promotions at the moment? So obviously email marketing is a big thing. What do you use in terms of channels, and basically how do you reach your ideal potential clients?
Yeah, it's I call it the give to get. If anyone's familiar with Gary Vee, it's the jab, 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 right hook. Yep. I provide a lot of value. It's one of those principles of exceeding someone's expectations. You have to give in order to receive, and give your best content away, because most people aren't going to do anything with it. When it comes to, let's say, fixing someone's body, like for physical therapy, I can't actually give you one exercise that's going to fix your back, but I can give you the understanding of what's wrong and what you can do about it, right? And I can help people see that. So what we do is I try to provide as much value up front before I ever ask of anything in return. So we've got podcasts. I've got a blog, so a weekly blog, a weekly podcast. I've got a Facebook group. I've got Instagram. I have I do free webinars. I've got automated webinars. I've got downloadable resources and a couple different lead magnets, and a free book. I've got a actual physical book that you can get for free. When you go to my website, you just cover shipping, and it's not only a lead magnet, but it's a great way to move people into my other programs. And I lead with a give, and so all of these different channels lead back to the same place, which is you get on my email list. And once you're on my email list, I send you more information, I send you trainings, and I ask you to do something, which is either to share something, tell somebody, click a link, or hey, here's your opportunity to join this program before the price goes up next week. So that's kind of that's the 30,000 foot view of it. I think the number one thing the number one thing is to make sure you're able to build an email list with something that's irresistible. But leading into the webinars, the thing that built my list the fastest early on was doing free online webinars for physical therapists. I used webinars to build my list by thousands of people a year. And it's been one of the most powerful ways to do that, because it's time spent with someone. These days, people want to spend a little less time with you, but it's still is incredibly powerful.
So I guess you pushed the webinars through something like Facebook and Instagram ads, right? Or
So what we did early on, like in I'm trying to remember when this was, in 2014 or 2013, I had a business coach who was helping me, and we did. He was big into webinars, and he still is, and I just started doing interviews. But I used Webinar Jam, and I would do a live interview, and I invite everyone on my email list to join us for this live interview, and I'd get their information and send them a replay. And that led, and I didn't do a sales webinar for a long time. And finally I had a product that actually converted through email. So I launched my course, the CashPT Blueprint. I launched it to my email list of 500 people for $197. And I sold 25 of them in a 5-day period. Then I raised the price. I know. I raised the price $100. It was like, hey, this very first, I hadn't even built the course. The thing is I had built the sales page, but I did not record the modules until I knew people wanted it.
That's a very good approach.
Yeah. That's how I teach it. Most people don't want to, most people think they need to go build the thing and then try to sell it,
Yeah, I think Tim Ferriss was, sorry for interrupting, but it just popped into my mind. I think Tim Ferriss was proposing a solution or this approach also in the 4-hour work week, I think. But he said, I mean, he was an ambassador for this also for other businesses. So not only for, for courses for sure, but also this can be applicable in any other business. Like just test, see what the interest is. And then once the interest is there and you can actually see some monetization happening, you can go and crack on.
Yeah. Oh, right. Absolutely. And one of the crazy things, I use this for teach people how to generate leads as well. Same thing. Like, don't go build your lead magnet until you figure out if people actually want it. Because people will spend, especially physiotherapists who are highly educated, when I use the word ebook, they think 300 pages. And they're like, oh no, I'll never do it. Or they go write this whole thing and they're like, why isn't anyone getting my email list? I was like, because no one wants it. And people aren't actually going to read it. We just need an excuse for them to raise their hand. And so I have my coaching clients go and post a very specific script to social media and generate. I mean, one of them, we just did this on Tuesday. She's got over 128 comments on her post for people who want her video and her lead magnet. It's just incredible. But she didn't go make the video first. We posted about it first.
I see. Okay. Would it be okay to go a bit into this specific tactic? Because I think it's a very interesting one and we never discussed it on the podcast before. How do you test a lead magnet and how do you identify which one is best for you? Because many of the people that we work with as well with the agency, they leverage webinars for trying to get more leads. And also it's still a very popular tactic. I totally agree with you that owning and having your own email list is super, super important for any business, because that's where the conversation actually happens, not necessarily on social media or not so much. And also definitely the sale. How do you go about choosing the right lead magnet and testing them?
Yeah. So first thing we have to do is we have to get our audience. We have to have an audience of people, whether it's an email list, a Facebook group, or a social media profile, something like that. And we have to survey them and ask them a question. Because you and I might look at someone's business and go, oh, you need to be doing this for marketing, or you should be running this kind of ad or that. But they may not want that. They may think they want or need something else. So they're never going to buy what we know they need, but they think they need or want something. They think they need something else, and we need to figure out what that is. So what we do is we will post and say, hey, what's your number one problem with, blank, back pain? What's the hardest thing about growing your business, or what's the hardest thing about hiring a new employee? What's your biggest struggle around opening another location or launching a webinar? And then they'll tell us, and we'll find what's the commonality. And I may have to do that 3 or 4 times. I'll even send an email and say, hey, I might send them to a survey, but the next step would be, hey, I take those survey results and say, hey, if I put together a free training on this, and this, or this big thing, would you be interested? And if I can get 6, 12, or 128 people to say yes, then I'll go and put that thing together. And I actually won't even build it first. I'll put together a landing page or a sales page and say, okay, here's the thing. I message it back to them. Then they sign up for it. And then I'll go record the 5-minute video or build the webinar or put together a 5-week boot camp, which is what I'm in the middle of right now. And I've done the exact same thing to do this. I've done it multiple times, but I can tell you, everyone at 4 or 5 years ago, everyone asked me to build a marketing course. And I built a marketing course on how I market my business and generate consistent leads every month. And I just went and sold it on a webinar. And not very many people bought it. And a bunch of people asked for refunds because it was too hard for them. And I'm like, well, you want a business like I have, you got to put in some work. But it wasn't what they wanted, right? They didn't want to work hard. They wanted the easy answer. And so that was my big lesson and why I realized, okay, I have to get back to selling the thing first before I put the work and effort into it.
And if you were to think about what results, the best results that you were getting through selling, let's say through webinars, but we can discuss any of the other lead magnets as well. And let's think about the last 2 years, let's say, because when we talk about 2015, let's say, webinars were in the beginning. So I think if you were running them then, you probably were getting a much better conversion rate because there was not so much noise. Maybe ads were a bit cheaper then. But recently, what type of products, at which price point, or how long were they the ones that were performing super good for you?
Yeah.
And for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Back in 2015 or 2016, I did a webinar and I'd sell 18, $1,000 courses on a webinar. And then as webinars became more popular, it was less and less. But it was less and less on the live ones, but I turned those into evergreen webinars. And so I sell much more on evergreen. And now what I'm doing is on webinars where I make the biggest impact on myself and my clients is I sell a 12-month coaching program. And I don't actually sell the program. It's an $18,000 program. I don't sell that on the webinar. I sell a strategy call on the webinar. And I move people from the webinar to a one-on-one call with either me or someone on my team, and then into our course or our, Platinum Mastermind program. And even doing webinars, and then I don't even call them webinars. Sometimes I'll call them a coaching call or a group game plan call, and I'll get people on a webinar or even into like a small group Zoom. I did this just a few weeks ago to enroll people in our 5-week program. I said, hey, it was a last minute idea. And I was like, why didn't I think of this? I just been busy. I was like, let's get together on Zoom if I can get enough people. And I had 12 people come to the Zoom. And 12 people tell me they could come. 8 people showed up. One person bought a $2,500 5-week coaching program, who's most likely to move into our Platinum Mastermind group at the end of that. And that was just from a last minute email that I sent once. I did a 45-minute Zoom call with everybody. So, yeah.
Cool. Group planning plan? No, what was the name of that? Group action plan? No.
Like a game plan. So it was like a game plan call. I did this.
Yeah.
So last winter I did a game plan call where it was a coaching call where I built a game plan for people during the year. And we started with goals, like what are your goals? Where are you now? What are your goals? How are you going to get there? And the whole idea is to figure out where they are now and where do they want to go, and create a gap and stretch the gap and create an open loop so that the way to close that gap is to come join me in my coaching program.
Absolutely love that. This is the first time, I speak to somebody that refers to this specific, phrase, or, talks about this development of the gap, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys tuning in, think whether this would be something good for your business, because this is some real value here that 𝐴𝑟𝑜𝑛 is sharing. 𝐴𝑟𝑜𝑛, in terms of mentors or people that you learned from when you were designing your marketing strategy for the courses and the programs that you have right now, is there like a specific person that influenced you a lot, like Jeff Walker or Frank Kern or these types of guys? Or
yeah, my coach right now is 𝐵edros Keuilian, and 𝐵edros, the interesting thing about him is he knows a lot of these guys, and I've certainly Dan Kennedy has been a big influence for me as well. But 𝐵edros wrote a blog post, and that I saw when I moved to Greensboro and moved my massage practice from San Francisco to Greensboro. And I think right when I was moving, I was adjusting it from physical therapy to massage therapy to physical therapy. I was searching for physical therapy marketing, and I think I put in PT marketing because he's a personal trainer. And I ended up on his blog post about how to rank your business on the first page of Google. And I did everything he said. And within 6 weeks, I got massive results. I was like, holy cow. Well, then 10 years later, I was showing someone that blog post because I visited the website. Now, I got his Facebook pixel, and he started showing me his new ads for his new podcast, the Empire Podcast. And I listened to it. I went to his event, signed up for his coaching program, and we're going on our 4th year coaching together. And just that journey that I took is something that I implemented in my own business that worked. And it's been massive. And I think the main thing that I've learned from him is how to see beyond my current capabilities and what's possible, but also the never quit attitude and how as entrepreneurs, there's no way we can fail if we keep moving forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. So how's your day looking like right now? Because it seems that you are a very busy man with all the calls and coaching and this stuff. Are you still doing the practical massaging and physiotherapy?
No, I'm not. I'm actually, I spend 2 hours during the week, 1 hour like coaching my team members over there, and another hour just like on a team meeting that I split that with my wife. So that's about an hour and a half every week. I spend another hour or two answering emails and fielding questions for that business. And then in my coaching business, we have a weekly mastermind call for an hour. And then I spend, I'm trying to think. And then I spend the rest of my time building programs, building marketing strategies, recording podcasts, recording social media, meeting with, I'll spend, 3 or 4 hours, even 5 hours a week answering certain emails. But I've got a team member that helps with my customer service. And so because I've hired other people and trained them and built out systems for them, I get to spend a majority of my days doing things that I want to do. And I don't actually have to be here right now if I didn't want to. I want my business to grow. But that's kind of how it is. I generally structure my day so that Mondays are a team meeting. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings is time for me to do some deep work and build out systems and be creative and create courses and programs. The afternoons are for coaching calls or meetings, podcast recordings, and Fridays are kind of like record my own content, play with the technology, check in with friends, and go home early.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. I think there's a lot of people there that would like to get to where you got today, and I think that some of the things that you and that we've been discussing here can be a real source of inspiration for many. And now to sort of bring, show how realistic it is to many people that maybe have not imagined themselves doing something like this. When you are working with clients, and let's say they are practitioners, maybe they have a small practice, and this, I guess, can be physical therapy, but does it work for other niches as well, like plastic surgery or dental practice or?
Yes, absolutely. I think the thing that people get into is that my situation is unique. My situation is like, my job is unique, or like, you can't help me because like I can tell you this, or tell people listening this, is like, your situation is not unique. It may feel unique, and it may be unique to you and a couple thousand other people, but there's billions of people in the world. And business principles are business principles. We can choose to ignore them if we want to or not, or make excuses why we shouldn't listen to them or engage in them or use them. But what we do and what we teach are principles that work across businesses. It's one of the reasons, like, I consider like myself and one of my the guy who runs my Facebook ads and helps me with some on the ground marketing strategies, micro strategies. We consider ourselves snipers. We've built a robust follow-up system, automation system, that if someone with a low friction business, like my physical therapy business, because it doesn't take insurance, is a high friction business. There's a lot of reasons why people wouldn't choose us.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone in business had a lower friction business, like a physical therapist who takes insurance, or a surgical practice who wants more clients, like if they use some of these principles, their business would grow tremendously. They just don't feel like the strong need to, or why would I do something different? And sometimes doing something different is the thing that's going to be the 10x factor in your business, rather than what everyone else is doing. And these, I had to learn how to use this from outside of my industry, and I've just adapted it to physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are plenty of things I've taken from my practice and moved them into my coaching business. They're like, oh, why am I not doing that? And then I'll move something from my coaching business over to the practice. Like, why wasn't I doing this kind of strategy call or something in the clinic? and we call it a total body diagnostic instead of a strategy call. It's the same thing. It's a sales call. So business principles are business principles. There's sometimes things that don't cross over, but they can always be adapted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if we were to take this situation of I'm still focusing on the webinars and
Yep.
creating these sort of funnels because they are so popular today, and I think you are a very good example of somebody that is doing it well, and also being so involved with this and having the results to support your expertise. I think valuable for many people that are tuning in on this episode would be they are probably from different industries. I know we are speaking to some of them that are messaging us after the shows and also asking us questions or asking us to try to follow up with some of our guests on specific topics, which, by the way, if you are open, maybe depending on the messages that we get today, maybe we can organize a second episode as well on a specific micro topic, to say so, which I get the feeling that is what we're doing now with the sales webinars and funnels. But because it's many people from many different industries, but the strategy is sort of in a way similar. It just needs to be adapted to the industry, as you did when you were adapting it to physical therapy. Right. What do you feel is the one or the two or the three factors that are super important and different from how they were maybe a year or two ago when you run these lead magnets, like the webinar funnel or the webinar lead magnet? Like, what has changed in the way that you promote it, the way that you follow up on it, so that you can get...
The big change is that people's attention is divided and it's shorter, right? So we have to attract their attention really quick. We want to give them what they're asking for right away. Mm-hmm. One of the worst things I've seen people do is send me, like, from a Facebook ad, send me to a sales page, and as soon as I get there, there's a lead magnet offer that pops up. I'm like, but you're trying to get me to sell something. Like it's just like I'm like, you didn't even look at your own ad, or your own page. And so what we have to do is be very specific with the message, who this is for, and what it's going to do for them, because people are thinking, what's in it for me? And they need to be able to see that right away. It's like, we just can't send people to a page with a bunch of options. We have to send them to one page. And so it's one message. And the other thing we're doing is, when we're running Facebook ads, we're not running Facebook ads directly to our webinars. I'm running Facebook ads to lead magnets, to blog posts, to get people into our email system, and then we'll email them about the webinars. Occasionally we'll run an ad for webinars, especially if we do a live one. Then on the webinar, I have to be very clear about who this is for. Hey, you're in the right place, and make it exciting and fun. So I've got a 𝐂𝐴𝐿 stream deck that allows me to make sounds and noises and cheers and, like I can make a little sound and, things like that, to keep people engaged. And I also have to engage them by asking them questions and making it a conversation rather than just telling them. Mm-hmm. Because if I just tell them, they're going to drop off. So questions like, hey, before we move on, I'd love to know what's been most helpful for you about this so far. So if you are actually listening to Andrei's podcast, just comment below the YouTube video, wherever you're watching this, and let us know what's been helpful for you about this. And as I do that in the webinar, I get people engaged, but I also start getting micro closes where people are saying yes before I even get to my offer. Mm-hmm. And by doing that has been one of the biggest things that we've changed and allowed us to really capture people. One of my most successful ones was a 2 full day live event because of COVID. Instead of an in-person event, I did it online. Mm-hmm. And had 90% of people there all day for 2 days in a row, and we converted 20% of the room to my high-level coaching program.
Super good.
Yeah.
And when you say driving the traffic to a blog post, I guess that has to do with providing them with a free value right away.
Yep.
And then how do you capture their email address? Do you have like a pop-up or something similar to that? Or do you have gated content?
Yeah. So yes and yes. So I don't run my own Facebook ads. I have someone that does it for me. So if we're working off of a cold audience, a lookalike audience, we'll drive them to the blog posts, the blog posts or articles I've written in like Forbes or Entrepreneur, and we'll start seeing like who clicks through and taking that audience and making it into a warmer audience, and then we'll send them ads where it's a short video of me talking about something for 1 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and we'll build an audience off of that ad. Who watched the first 30 seconds of it, or who watched the first minute, and then from there we'll go another level and send them an offer for maybe a strategy call or a lead magnet, or to do something else. Come join us on a webinar, something else, and we'll build these audiences, and they've seen us not too much but enough, and we can start to predict what they'll do next. And that's kind of how we run our ads. And if anyone's listening, don't run Facebook ads unless you have an offer that converts. And if you're listening and you're a marketing professional or an agency and you help other people, it's probably the biggest frustration is people tell you the Facebook ads don't work. Well, it's because their offer sucks. And the one thing that I've seen people do is they'll just run Facebook ads, but they don't work with their client on like making sure the offer works, and then the client gets unhappy.
Very well pointed there.
Right. So that's the other thing I want to point out to people is like, I know the pain points that people have, right, Andrei? Like I can tell you, like I've talked to enough people who run agencies, like that's a big pain point, but their clients don't know it. So if we know the pain points of our customer, and agencies aren't my customers, but I work with enough people who run them to know that what these pain points are, because my clients have the pain point. They tell me that I tried so-and-so's agency and it didn't work. I need more new patients. And what I really know the problem is that their sales system stinks and their follow-up stinks. But they just think they need more new customers. So.
Or the product is too expensive. I mean, depends a lot on, the industry.
Right. Absolutely.
Cool. This was such a good session. I've really enjoyed talking to you, man. So let's see, because we are sort of getting to the final point, at least with this episode. What we do typically is we try to draw 3 or 5 points, depending on the subjects that are actionable and that people tuning in can take away. And, for example, this weekend go and implement into their business, or at least think about how they could be suited to their business. And I had in my notes here, one thing that I wanted to touch upon, and we did, was, the benefit of having this product elements to a service business to drive additional cash flow. So having like an additional cash flow channel, and how this can help a business develop and build anti-fragility in a way. And also, the things that we discussed now with, webinars and marketing in the health sector, where you talk directly to patients. So this would not necessarily be, as we talked a lot here about you and clients that own practices. It would be more about the clients that own practices, how they market further, and your experience with that, I guess, from your personal experience as well, when you launched and grew your own practice back in the day. So if we were to draw these actionable points, what would you say are the top 3? But I will not be very strict. If you feel it's more, we can have more action points. So what would these be? And then what could people take away?
Perfect. I think the top 3 things would be to, 1, commit to yourself to taking action. And one of the best ways to do that is to tell someone else what your goals are, okay, or post it somewhere. But then really it's post on social media somewhere. Like you got to figure out, what's the biggest problem my clients think they have? Okay, then you're going to post and say, I just made a video on the 3 steps to fix or solve this problem. Would you like me to send you a copy? And see if you get it right, if you get the formula right, you get the problem right, people start responding. And now you got a bunch of leads. And now you need to go collect those leads into your email marketing platform. You just send them a Facebook message or Instagram message, DM them, hey, here's the link, and you just send them a link to the landing page. Like, excited you're interested, here's where you can go and get the video. And they go, get it. So you haven't made the video, so you got to make the video and set up the reply email. But the first thing would be is just post it and see what happens. The worst thing that can happen is it 500 people reply, just like happened to one of my clients, Alexis, and you have to now go do some work to get them on your email list. That's a good problem. That would be number
definitely.
one. I mean, that would be like, if you could do that this week, that might be enough, like as a takeaway. Most people probably won't do it. They'll be like, well, what if it doesn't work? And I would say, so what? What if it doesn't work? You just learned what message doesn't resonate with your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Try a different message. So then number 2 would be try it again. The third thing to do would be, if you do not have a email marketing platform or software, get one. Get one and start using it to add people onto it. I think the biggest excuse I've heard people say lately is, well, I don't have enough clients or patients to use that. I'm like, you don't need clients and patients in it. You don't need an email list to use it. You need to use it to build your email list. People have it backwards. And I do think that these are a lot of times excuses for people, fear of failure. And the third thing would be to change your mindset this weekend, even if you have to write it down or tell everyone. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to help millions of people, there's no such thing as failure anymore. We're playing on a different field. And as entrepreneurs, when something doesn't work out the way we want it to or expect it to, we have to analyze the situation, learn from it, change something, and try it again. Because if you only fail if you stop.
Love it. Aaron, and like this was again very good advice, totally aligned with my thinking as well. I think it's spot on. And if people on the show, I mean, we don't know everybody, but we know they are from a bunch of industries, including health, and we might actually have some people here that specialize specifically in this niche, or even why not people that have somebody in their family that has a practice, or a friend, or maybe even themselves. If they wanted to engage with you directly, and maybe they want to take this to a next level and have somebody from your team, or your team yourself even help them just scale, 10x everything, what are the best platforms, ways in which you could potentially work together?
Yeah, we've got I've got quite a few different options. I've got online courses, I've got books and coaching programs. I think the best thing to do would be go over, find me on Instagram, follow me at @LeBauer. You'll find a lot of the content there, hopefully similar in alignment with what you've learned today, but also link there to get access to some of our other resources, podcasts, books, downloadable guides. I do have one guide that is helpful for probably most people listening. I put together my top marketing strategies and I put them in a list. There were 35 of them. So it's the 35marketingstrategies.com. If you want like a free download cheat sheet of our best marketing strategies. But you can go there, or you can find it when you come over to Instagram. Follow me at @LeBauer. And if you have questions, feel free to shoot me a DM.
Super. So for the guys watching, you have here on the screen as well Aaron's handle, and we'll have for everybody links in the description of this episode, whether you are watching on LinkedIn, listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or whatever your chosen platform. Super. Well, until next time, Aaron, this was such a great chat. Really happy that we managed to sync up and to do this together. Thank you again for all the good insight and for being open about everything that has worked or not for you, and for sharing all these insights with our audience.
Absolutely, Andrei. It was a pleasure being here, and it was great meeting you. And maybe one day we'll see each other in person, but you never know.
Same, big pleasure here as well. Wishing you all the very best. Keep rocking it. Best of luck with on your mission. And looking forward to, if not in person soon, maybe we'll just have another catch up online shortly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Have an awesome evening and rock it.